I'm excited because today we're going to finish analyzing the first chapter of Mark. It took us more than 1 year, so it was about time. And if you like our content, please don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. Thank you. So, the ending of the first chapter of Mark, it's actually very amusing. If you remember, Jesus has just performed a miracle for this leper. He came, he asked for mercy, he asked to be healed, and Jesus healed him, and the leprosy went away from him. And he's so excited that he started probably jumping and screaming. And Jesus he gets really angry. He doesn't want him to let it out. Okay, he wants to keep it secret. And so he rebukes him. Please don't say anything to anybody. Just go back to the high priest, show yourself, and just do that. Please don't say anything to anybody. And guess what? This guy completely loses it. He doesn't care what Jesus is saying, and he runs away, screaming around and proclaiming around the miracle that he just received. Let's read. The passage is a little long. So it starts with this ho de exelson exato kerusein polla kai diaphemizein ton logan. So let's focus on the very first sentence. The subject is here, this ho. Now, this ho is a definite article, technically, the, and it's in the masculine singular. The can also mean that or that man. So we can just translate as he is the leper. Okay, he. Now, what is this they? We commented on this particle some time ago. So this they here is just a particle that can be used sometimes to just transition from one sentence to the next. But in generally, it has an aversative sense. So something happened, but something else happened. Something that kind of is in contrast with what happened before. In this particular case, it definitely does have an aversative sense because Jesus had just commanded him to stay silent, but he doesn't. So this they can be translated as though. Okay, though. All right. So this guy, the leper, though excelson. Now excelson is a participle. Okay, is a participle, singular in the masculine singular. Okay, in the aorist tense. We've seen this many times because this is an irregular verb coming from the base verb erchomai, and in this case it has this x in front, which is exerchomai. The preposition ex, we know it, means out of. We've seen it many times. And the verb erchomai means to go. So technically, the verb exerchomai means to go out or to exit. Okay. In this case, just means going away. Or you can imagine that maybe Jesus found this leper inside the synagogue. The gospel doesn't say exactly where this happens. So based on this preposition, people have imagined that maybe Jesus encountered this leper in a synagogue, and so the leper is getting out of the synagogue. We don't really know. This could also mean simply just went away. Okay, so let's just translate it like that. However, he exelson, so going out. And here we come to the principal verb, which is erxato, which is connected to another verb, which is kerusin. So let's start from erxato. Now, erxato comes from a verb that sounds very similar to erchomai, which is going out, but it's actually archomai, okay? Archomai, which means to begin, to begin. Remember that word arche that we seen in the very first verse of Mark chapter 1, okay, which means origin, origin. And we commented on the fact that arche is the prime principle, is the original principle, is the beginning, is basically God, right? So it has the same root, So that's why it means to begin. So this guy, erxato, this is again another aorist tense, means began. Okay, he started doing something, and that's why you have this infinitive here. This ending ein indicates that this is an infinitive tense. So he started doing something. Well, this verb kerusso, we have encountered it already. Okay, it's a very important verb because it means to proclaim. Okay, to proclaim, and in particular is the proclamation of the good news of the gospel. Okay, so he started proclaiming, preaching around. Okay, he started proclaiming what? Well, of course, the healing that he had received, the miracle he had received. So he started proclaiming what? Polla. Now, polla is an adjective. This ending indicates this is a neuter plural. And when an adjective is put in the neuter plural, it's implied things, right? So the adjective pollos means much, okay, or a lot. In the plural means many. In the neuter plural means many things, technically. So he went out proclaiming many things. So he started letting all out, basically. Okay, he started letting all out about the miracle he received. The Kai and diaphemizein. So you see these two infinitive in a, ending in ein, connected by the Kai. So he started doing these two things. One, proclaiming many things, and diaphemizein. So the verb is diaphemizo. So there is this preposition dia, which can have many meanings, through or around. In this particular case, together with the verb femizo, which comes from the root of the verb femi, which means to say, okay, to talk. Is a very important verb in Greek, uh, commonly used. So diaphemize means to say around, to spread around, okay? So he proclaimed a lot of things and he spread around ton logo. This is the direct object. In the accusative case, you see the ending on, masculine singular. And you know what logos means word. Okay, so he started spreading out the word, the good news, the news about his miracle. Okay, so the first verse we can translate, however, he going away or going out started proclaiming many things and spreading the word. Now let's go to the funny part, which is the second and third verse. Hoste meketi auton dunasai faneros eis polin eis eltsein. So it has a consequence. The fact that he starts proclaiming around this incredible miracle, nobody had ever seen a leper be miraculously healed like that on the spot. And so what happens? Well, you have this hoste. This is a preposition. This is a preposition. Um, and the sense is consecutive. So indicates a consequence of an action. So we could translate it so that, so much so that, okay, at the point that, okay, so that, and it holds, as you can see, an infinitive construct where the subject is in the accusative. Normally, in the accusative, you find the subject, but in an infinitive construct, the subject is in the accusative, and the verb, the principal verb, is the infinitive tense. This is what you get. This is called infinitive construct. It's there because it's held by this preposition, consecutive preposition, hoste. So the subject is this auton, he, meaning meaning Jesus. Okay, so this is actually referring to Jesus. This he is Jesus. He, and the verb dunastsai is the infinitive of the verb dunamai, which mean we already seen it before when the leper asked Jesus, "You can heal me." it uses the verb dunami. You can, you are able, you have the power. Okay, so Jesus, and in general, this word just means can. So Jesus could make it. This is a negative preposition. No longer. It means no longer. Okay, so much so that he, meaning Jesus, could no longer doing what? Well, this is the verb connected with this dynasty. He could, and then you have another infinitive. So a lot of infinitives here. Okay, infinitive. And what is this verb? Eis el sein. Well, it's always the same verb, erchomai, with the preposition eis in front. Here we have exelzon, is again the verb erchomai with the x in front. So ex erchomai meaning going out, eis erchomai means going in. Okay, eis means into. And this is the infinitive aorist tense of the verb is herkomai, which is enter, going into. So that he could no longer enter as Polin. This is the place where he could no longer enter. And you know, polis means city, right? Politics is what you talk about the government of the city, right? Ace plus accusative. You find this accusative here, this new at the end. So he could not enter a city or any city, phaneros. This ending omega sigma indicates that this is an adverb. Okay, this is an adverb. Now, to understand the meaning of this phaneros, um, you have to understand the root of this adverb, which comes from the verb final. Final. Okay, and the verb final has comes from the root of the substantive phos, which means light. Okay, so final means to become apparent, to become manifest, to appear. Okay, appear because you enter into light. Okay, so phos means light, final means to appear, which from which, by the way, comes the word, for example, phenomenon in English. Phen, that root phen comes from final in Greek, which is a phenomenon is something that appears, right? That we can see in the light. Okay. So final, the verb final means appear, and so the adverb phaneros means what is evident, what you can see, and so we can translate it as publicly or openly, so that everybody could see. So what is the consequence of the fact that this leper goes out and tells everybody about the miracle he received? That Jesus could not enter any city publicly anymore because otherwise they would just jump on him. Everybody wanted to get healed by him. So, what could Jesus possibly do? Well, this is the conclusion of the first chapter of Mark. Alexo eperemois topois en. So, the principal verbs here is this en. This is the imperfect of the verb to be in the imperfect tense. So, it means he was staying. He was, or he was staying. And it's introduced by this al with this apostrophe here. This comes from Allah, okay, Allah, which means but, okay, which means but. So he could not enter any city, but he was staying exo. This is an adverb, which means out or outside. He would stay outside the cities. He would not enter anymore in any city, but he was staying outside. Esperemos topos. So this is a prepositional phrase introduced by the preposition ep. And again, the iota here at the end gets dropped because the next term starts with a vowel. Same thing here. You have an apostrophe here because the next word starts with a vowel. So this is typical. The vowel drops and there's an apostrophe there to remember or remind you that actually there used to be a vowel there. So the preposition is ep, and ep plus dative. You see this dative ending, ois. Ois, this is a dative plural. masculine or neuter. This prepositional phrase epi plus dative means in. Okay, it's a status in a place. Okay, in a place. So he was staying where? In. We've seen this expression before. In topois, in places, eremois, solitary places. So in deserted places. We've seen this when John the Baptist, right, was baptizing in the desert. We've seen this when Jesus is pushed by the Holy Spirit to go into the desert to be tempted by the devil. And we've seen it here again. So he was staying outside in deserted places. And then the end of the chapter reads like this: Kai and erchonto prosauton pantosen. Now, the verb is erchonto. So this verb here is the same verb here and is the same verb here. It's always the verb erchomai, okay, conjugated in different ways. Here in ex elzon was in the participle aorist. Here in eis elzein was in the infinitive aorist. Here we're simply in the aorist indicative in the third, this is the third person plural, okay. So no, actually that's not in the aorist, it's in the imperfect, sorry, my bad, it's in the imperfect tense, which indicates a continuous action, okay. And third person plural, so they, and they were coming, they would come, okay. Who is this they? Everybody, all the people, okay. And they would come pros auton, so you have this prepositional phrase introduced by the preposition pros, which we've seen it many times, indicates a movement toward, okay, towards somebody, okay. It's similar to the preposition ace. Ace is even more specific. It's a movement not just towards but inside something. Pros is just a movement approaching something or somebody. So they were coming, they would come to auton, him, personal pronoun in the accusative masculine singular, okay, so Jesus, they would come to Jesus, pantosen, this is an adverb again, which means from anywhere, from everywhere, okay. You have this root of pan, which means all, from all the places, from everywhere, okay. So putting everything together, this last verse of the first chapter of Mark reads, however, he, going away, started preaching many things and spreading the word, so much so that Jesus could not any longer enter any city publicly, but he was staying outside in deserted places. And they would come to him from everywhere. So he could not have a minute of rest. It's kind of amusing, but also I like to imagine that Jesus, after rebuking and commanded the leper to not say anything to anybody, and seeing that he immediately disobeyed this commandment, probably he just felt loving compassion for this guy, and a big smile appeared on his face.